Good evening. Welcome to the Great Author Show here on IntellectualRadio.com. And I'm your host, Dr. Anthony L. Gant, and look forward to talking to another author today in regards to their book. You know, this show we interview independent big book authors from around the country. So today I'm in the studio. However, I do have the author on the phone with me today because I interview authors from all around the country. And today's author that we have today is Terry Budget. Are you there, Terry? That's good, good, good. I'm glad Terry is here. Terry is again. Terry, where you calling me from? Because sometimes people don't believe I talk to people all over the country. Where you calling me from? South Carolina. You know, I got a friend down there, Terry. He called it South Click. I was stationed down there for a while, as a matter of fact, for about 3 or 4 years. And I was at the Navy base that was in Charleston. Now, I know they don't have it anymore. Yeah, but that's where I was back in the day. Yeah, so it's good to have you on the call with us and everything. And Terry's book is called The Leader's Blueprint. And we're gonna go through some things with Terry and have him share some things about the book. This show is being sponsored by UnknownGreatness.com. Again, that's UnknownGreatness.com. And you'll be able to pick up Terry's book as well. And also it's being sponsored by Get It Done Publishing Services, where we publish your book for you as an independent author, help you get it edited and laid out and cover design, ISBN numbers, print you a couple of hundred copies of the book and help you actually get started. As a matter of fact, we're one of the only companies in the country that actually finance you on 50% of the actual project because we believe in the project of independent authors that much. So with all that said and done, so we got Terry Budget on the phone here. So Terry, before we get started, tell us a little something about you. North Click. Okay. All right.
I'm also a 21-year retired combat Army veteran.
Woo! Say that again, man, so people can hear that.
21 years combat Army retired vet.
Woo! That's something. I applaud you on that. Tell us more about you.
I've traveled around the world a few times, had my fair share of combat experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just enjoying living life as a civilian now.
Okay.
And now as a professional speaker and now author, I just want to share my message with the world and teach other people how to become the better part of themselves, especially to become the alpha leader.
I like that. I like that. You know, I have to applaud you for spending 21 years in the military. I couldn't do quite that many years myself, but but I applaud anyone that can do 21 years in the military because the military is a different lifestyle. I only did 6 years, 9 months, and 15 days. So, you know, you did 21 years. I know exactly how much I did, but you did 21 years, man. That's pretty awesome. And now the only thing I can't applaud you on, I feel sorry for you because you didn't do the Navy, you did the Army. So, you know, I had to feel a little bad about that for you. I like that, man. I like that. So, so that's good. So let's talk about the lead. One reason why I want you to bring up what you've done because of the topic that we're actually talking about regarding your book on leadership. Because I know about being in the military, and one thing I will give them credit for is that they try to instill and teach people how to be leaders is pretty much as soon as they can, meaning day one if they can do it, right? So for you to spend 21 years in that environment, it shows that you have some leadership skill and ability, and then especially in combat, because combat is not like any other daily routine. So to actually be in leadership is something that you have some skill sets that a lot of people can use out here and what they do in regards to business, what they do in their family or whatever they do. Leadership is important. So that's one reason why I'm having you on the show to talk about your book, because there's a lot of good information in your book. And obviously, you know, I have it right here with me as well. So let's again. So let's go into this because you said something. We're going to talk about a little bit more about the alpha leader. But before we go there, let's talk a little bit. Start me off with the book. Tell me more about the book. Why did you write it? Who is it for?
Okay, so to go back to what you were saying earlier, you were talking about the essence of leadership itself. Now, I wasn't always the leader that I am now.
Right.
So it's coming up in an environment to where I was that skinny kid. I didn't have many friends. There were those who played basketball and other various other sports.
Right.
Those who hung out with the guys.
Mm-hmm.
There was that all the other girls wanted, and then there was me.
I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean.
So I was more so the alone type. I was bullied from kindergarten through high school.
Okay. That's a long time to get bullied.
And it wasn't until I actually got to the military
Okay.
that I really discovered myself.
That's
And
interesting.
that's the one thing that I learned about leadership, specifically this. When you're taking the basic training, you're taking away from everybody that you've been around, to take away your cell phones and all the things that you're accustomed to.
Okay.
And the whole goal is to get out all the trash that you've grown up with. And we hear you now.
Mm-hmm.
All the trash, all the nonsense, and all the idealisms that you came up with, and have you focus on one specific goal. That is to lead, to survive, and to win.
I like that.
So when I finished basic training and went to my other courses, I had a completely new attitude. I wasn't that kid that everybody could push around anymore.
Right.
When I came back home, I had a whole new focus, a whole new mentality, and a whole new attitude. I wish someone would jump.
I like that. So what do you think brought that on? You say you discovered yourself, you discovered that you were a leader. What was it you think that made that change? And obviously that short period of time, because basic training and schooling, you're looking at about 6 months, right? 6 to 8 months based on what type of schooling you have. So within 6 to 8 months, you turn into a whole different person that was bullied for 12 years.
Well, the idea was simply this. Because I grew up in an environment where I didn't have my father to teach me the things that my father would teach me at the time.
Okay.
Now, although I had a strong mother, a strong grandmother, I knew that there was something missing. There were things that I needed to know that my friends knew that was totally oblivious to me. And I found things that I needed to know, specifically how to take charge, how to defend myself, how to be focused, how to have a goal. And I didn't discover that until I had joined the military. Now we were all focused on one specific goal. And now I had real friends who were all focused in the same direction.
Okay, I like how you said that. So real friends that was all focused on the same direction. That's pretty powerful and profound to me, what you just said. Because I think a lot of people never get real friends focused on the same objective.
And what's interesting is this. I'm closer to the friends, to the people that I was in service and contact with than those I grew up with.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that because even when I didn't spend as much time and I didn't really go through any combat experience in the military. Obviously, in the Navy, we do things a little bit different than obviously the Army. However, a couple of the people that are friends. I mean, I have some friends in the military that's been friends with me for over 30 years. I mean, they're like brothers because of actually what you go through in that process and the person that you become in that process. And they were leaders, and I had to be a leader and all those different things because it's kind of the way of the military, right? So it teaches you some things. It grows you up probably faster than some other situations. So that it teaches you things that you can actually use. And some of the things I still use today, even though I've been out the military for well over a quarter century. So, but some of the things I still learn, I still use even today. The disciplines and being focused and being diligent and things like that. Obviously, I added on to that on 25 years. But a lot of those things started for me in that environment. So I do understand that.
I wouldn't trade those years of service for anything.
I don't know if I'll say all that, but man, I don't know if I'll say all that there. No, I'm just joking. But I understand what you're saying. Right. So let's go. So Terry, now you got you some leadership skills when you get out of basic training and things of that nature. But still at that time, you're not the leader that you grew to be. So what was it that got you there? Okay, obviously, you in the service, but leadership can go anywhere. You don't have to be in the service to be a leader, right? You don't have to be in politics to be a leader. People don't realize they're a leader at home with their children. You right? They don't realize that they're a leader at work. If they're supervisor or if they're just co-workers, they're leaders there too.
Here's the misconception that most people have.
Okay.
Most people equate their position or their title with being the leader or the head.
Right.
given to the world, people will seek you out for leadership, and you'll find that people will be looking to follow your lead because of your gift or your ability.
Right.
So even in the military, even though it's linear structured, it's more so, let's say in a hierarchical rank or position, rank determines the level of authority that you have. So the truth is this: anybody can lead or anyone can take charge because not everyone has the same ability or gift. Your position or your rank does not make you a leader. Your ability and your gift does.
Say that again, Terry. Say that again.
Your ability and your gift make you a leader.
What?
People are going to follow a fool. They don't know where it's going or what its gift is. Just because you're in a position makes you a manager. But when you empower other people to discover themselves, that makes you a leader.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, when you empower other people. And I think a lot of times people miss that part, Terry, what you just said. They again think that they're supposed to be followed or tell everybody what to do. Everybody's supposed to kiss their butt because they're in this position. They don't realize that they are to empower people. You are empowered to empower people. And I don't think a lot of times people know how to empower people. And that's why I don't think that a lot of times people that have quote unquote leadership positions aren't effective leaders because they don't empower the people that's following them, because you should duplicate yourself. It should be more of you around than you, right? If you're leading 10 people, they're 10 times better than you if you empower them because they can do things that you can't do by yourself.
This is definitely true. And I've learned, and this is the military and within the corporate sector, that there's a difference between people that follow you because they fear you,
Mm-hmm.
or they follow you because they respect you.
Explain that, Terry, when you say that, because some people might not get what you're saying. So, because a lot of times people, because one thing about this, Terry, that the older you get, you have been led by somebody, right? Been led by, boss at a job. You've been led by a group or team or whatever you've been into. Once you get 30, 40, 50 years old or plus, you have been led by someone. So they may not understand. Sometimes you've probably been led by fear. You're going to lose your job if you don't get this done, or you're going to lose this if you don't get this done, right? So why don't you explain the difference between fear and respect?
Okay. I think it goes even deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the ideas that we ascribe to are based on our cultural upbringing, our ethnic roots, or things that we've learned through experiences with other people. When I use the term fear, I'm speaking in terms of when you follow someone, and maybe because they have a position over you, and you may have the fear of losing your job because that person is in authority over you.
Right.
Now, you may do what that person has because do what that person says to do because of the position that they're in, not necessarily because you respect the person.
Right. Right.
Now, on the opposite end of the coin, you follow that person because you respect them. You respect them because they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're empowering you to be the best that you can.
Right.
So
Right.
Leadership isn't about dictating or telling other people what to do. It's really about personal self-discovery.
Okay.
Who am I, and who can I make better?
I like that.
Become better because I was involved in that interaction.
Now that's pretty deep there, Terry, because I don't know how many people that lead actually think what you just said. Who can become better because they are involved. So that's pretty profound.
I think that's probably the most important component of leadership. It's not. You've heard before that leadership is about influence, but it's much deeper than that. Leadership is about inspiration and empowerment of other people. There's a quote that says, "When you help other people get what they want, you'll always have what you need."
I like that. Say that again one more time so the audience can hear you.
When you help other people get what they want, you'll always have what you need. And why? Because it's not about selfishness; it's about selflessness.
Mm-hmm. That's good, Terry. That's good.
Pour yourself into other people to make them better, and they will call you leader. You don't become a leader just because you're in a position. The people that follow you give you the right to be a leader.
They give you the right to be a leader.
Leadership is not taken from the people; it's given by the people.
That's good. More leaders need to hear that. People that have leadership positions regardless of where they are. They could be a church leader, they can be a corporate executive, they can be an employer, right? That entrepreneur that maybe have 5 people working with them in the company. They need to hear that part there, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't understand that it's not taken, you don't take leadership spots. It's given or earned by or given by the people, like you said. So it's earned. In most cases, if you're a good leader, it should be earned.
Oh yeah, it has to be. I've learned just in dealing with people that when you want to have success, don't look for it.
Okay.
You want it, but don't look for it. Look to become a person of value. When you become valuable,
Right.
people will bestow on you leadership because they want to learn from you. And the idea is to become as valuable as you possibly can, so that the world can't ignore you.
Right. I like that. And and you said something pretty profound again there, that become valuable, right? Because people will seek you out. When you get good at something, it's almost like in athletics, right? When a person is pretty skillful in their athletic ability, another team want to give them more money, or they get more money because of their skill set, right? They become more valuable to the team, right? And the less valuable they become to the team, if they're dysfunctional or disruptive, then a lot of times teams don't want to deal with them because your value is not there. You're going to devalue the team because of your attitude, maybe because of how you do things or your lack of leadership. So what you said there is pretty awesome, because I think that happens in family structures. Sometimes people don't want to deal with certain family members because they don't bring value to the family. Now, that may sound wrong, right? To some people, it may sound like, hey, but that's my brother, sister, mama, dad, son, daughter, cousin, auntie, that's grandma. But grandma might not bring value to the family, right? So,
And
pe- go ahead.
even to a greater extent, when we're talking about family, you may it's been said that, well, I'm the man and I'm the head of the house.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
If you're the man and you're the head of the house, then you're already in the wrong position.
Explain.
Here's why. Because no house is ever built unless the foundation is established first.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
So if you're the male, don't be the roof, be the foundation.
Beautiful. That's right. That's right.
In terms of this,
Mm-hmm.
if a door cracks or a window breaks or there's fluctuation in roofing,
Mm-hmm.
do you give them a house?
Right. Right.
If the foundation is cracked, everything stops.
That's true.
Everything is not livable.
That's right.
The same thing applies to leadership, especially in families.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be the leader, be the foundation of everything you do.
That's good, Terry. I always tell people, obviously you and I know each other for about, I don't know, about a year, right? Something like that, right?
Yes, about that.
And I always tell people, because obviously what I try to promote people like yourself in regards to what you do, that I tell people I'm a floor, not a ceiling. See, I'm someone that you should stand on, not try to reach towards, right? Because I build a foundation, so you won't have to do as much work as I had to do to get to a certain place, right? So you stand on top of me so you can actually go to the next spot, right? So that's one reason why I do the radio show, because I didn't get a lot of opportunities, right? I had to make my way to get opportunities. But obviously, I do this so I want to help a person like Terry Budget get some people get exposed to his books and his product and his speaking and things that he does, so they can be uh, more aware of him and what he does. So I understand what you're saying about the foundation, because that makes a lot of sense. That's really good to be the foundation. And if more people look at it, they're the foundation, then more people can grow in that process.
And like you just said, and as far as us building our relationship together,
Mm-hmm.
the heartbeat of any organization is its people. And I wrote this in my book.
Right.
I think it's in the area of focus on flatline.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The organization heartbeat is the people that are in it. If the heartbeat stops, then you flatline. Everything dies. So the whole focus is the focus on the people, not just the customers, but the employees. So if you're a leader, you take everything into account. That's what the Alpha does, and that was the main purpose of me writing this book, is because you have the average leaders, you have the great leaders, but you also have the exceptional leaders, which is what I call the Alpha.
Okay, so let's go through that. Okay, let's go through that
Go
alpha.
ahead.
Let's go through that alpha leadership for a minute. So now you in chapter 5, right? And you talk about uh, don't you trust me? I like that part of the book in chapter 5. Matter of fact, it's on page 106. And you have don't you trust me? Okay, why don't you explain that to the audience so they can understand that a little bit better? Because we talk about the alpha leader in just a moment.
Every relationship or every organization that does any business is based on a reputation of trust. And so, what does this mean, trust? Without trust, nothing is established. I can say anything I want to you, and I can do whatever you ask of me. The question is, do I trust you to get it done? Or if something goes wrong, do I trust you to have my back? Because truth, in truth, you can say, truth is just like respect. Most people will tell you that respect isn't given, it's earned. The truth is, just like trust is given until you lose it.
Wow, that's good.
Then it's hard to get back. You have a different perspective on how that comes into play. For me to earn it, or for you to even converse with me, there has to be an establishment of trust to begin with for you to even talk to me. So you
Right.
give it to me until I lose it. And once it's lost, then it's difficult, if not impossible, to get it back. Stephen Warren Buffett said, and I put it in the book, it takes 20 years to build a relationship and 5 minutes to ruin it.
That's true. It doesn't take long to ruin a relationship, especially if you uh, don't trust people. Someone does something untrustworthy. So it is kind of hard to keep the relationship after that. So you're right about that, Terry.
I think in the military, it's part of the core values. But I do attempt best I can. I accept the alcohol sometimes, as we all do, to try to have the best reputation or be a person of integrity, honesty, and trustworthiness as I possibly can. Now, nobody's perfect. I by far am not.
Me
But the
neither.
idea is to establish a level of trust so you can deal with people and people are willing to deal with you.
Right.
Especially if you're wanting to lead. And wanting to lead is a good thing, but you have to be trusted first.
That's true. That's true. Let's talk about this attitude that you have in chapter 1, because I'm big on attitude, right? I think I know everybody don't always have the best attitude. None of us do, right, all the time. I do understand that. However, I like how you put that at the beginning of the book, right? Attitude. Start this thing off in the first chapter. So let's talk about that for a minute. So when you say attitude and leadership, what are you saying?
A leader's a true, notice that the truth.
Mhm.
The true leader's attitude is simply this: their belief system, how they see things, or how they perceive things. The idea, the concept rather, is that you may see situations that occur to you that are negative as a problem, but your attitude will determine if it is a problem or is it an opportunity to learn. We are designed, especially as leaders or managers of any organization or even in the house, to learn by our failures, not by our successes. When you have a positive attitude, that determines everything that happens around you and to you. It's just a product of your belief system. And I put in the book that um, attitude is a product of belief. The opposite is an extraordinary leader simply because of what he or she believes about him or herself. If you believe when you wake up in the morning, it's going to be a messed up day, chances are it probably will be because of your attitude. Or you can wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and say, you know what, you're going to have a fantastic day no matter what happens. You've already set a positive day in motion simply because of your belief system. And how your belief system is a reflection of your thinking, and that's your attitude. And ironically enough, your attitude is contagious. So when you walk into an environment, it's amazing how a leader, regardless if they have a positive or negative attitude, can impact an entire room, and they never said a word with it.
That is pretty interesting, isn't it?
Hmm?
I
Yeah,
said that is pretty
I've
interesting.
seen it.
Yeah. So have I. So about that, and it could go good or bad. You can have a leader with a certain positive type of attitude, and all of a sudden you can think you were losing, and then when they walk in the room, you think you just won a championship in something, right? You think, and it can be again like it doesn't mean athletics, but I mean at work. It might be. I remember when I was years ago. When they had the recession and it hit pretty hard, and I think a lot of leaders showed up, and a lot of people that thought they were leaders was put out, right? Because that was a tough time for a lot of people, right? People losing jobs and losing houses and losing all type of things, right? And then if the right person came in there, because you need the right person to come in certain situations with the right attitude to help steer the ship, so to speak, right? You have, in your company or on your neighborhood, and because some neighborhoods, for instance, they don't realize they're leaders. It may be a rough neighborhood, right? I mean, it might be a little violence going on, or things are going on. It could be a tornado, a hurricane come in. Leaders show up, right? And people start following effective leaders.
And here's what most people have to understand. When you say, well, I'm going to be the leader of this situation. Well, that's not necessarily how it really happens. Most leaders evolve through necessity or calamity.
That's good, Terry.
Here's the thought.
Mm-hmm.
When you become a leader, is it because I say I want to be a leader, or are you put in positions to lead based on the situation? Someone must take charge, which means someone has to lead.
Right.
A leader doesn't say, go do this or go do that. That's what a dictator does. A leader says, come, let's do this. Follow me. Let's do this together. You see, in many organizations, there's always a managerial atmosphere or a dictatorship atmosphere. But that's not how things really get done, because that's why the high turnover rate takes place. That's not effective leadership. Effective leadership incorporates everyone, because everyone has something to bring to the table, regardless if they believe it or not. A true leader incorporates the ideas of everyone, discusses the situation, and then ultimately decides what needs to take place. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that when everyone brings down to the table, that everyone makes a decision. Someone has to take control. So even though power may be shared unilaterally, decisions are made singularly based on information that's given from the group.
So let me ask you this, Terry. Oh, go ahead. Finish that thought. I'm gonna ask you a question. Go ahead.
I believe in Napoleon Hill called it a mastermind.
Right. So here's a question for you. Why do you think a lot of people? It's a two-part question. Why do you think a lot of people are afraid to lead, and why do you think a lot of people don't lead well? So you can answer the first one, then we can answer the second one.
I believe, most people are afraid to lead because they don't want to be responsible nor accountable.
That's good.
When you take responsibility and accountability, you're saying to yourself and to the people that are around you, I will own this. If we succeed, congratulations to you. If we fail, I will take the blame.
Yeah, that's big. That's big there. Yeah, that's big boy, big girl stuff right there. There, to take the blame if it failed, and then give the credit if it's to others if it succeed. And I think that's a true mark of a leader. A leader say, when we win, see what y'all did. When we lose, what did I do? Right? Because it's not your fault. Like you said, I'm gonna take the blame. And that's big for to be in leadership, Terry, because it's a lot being responsible for yourself. Right? That's a lot. Then you put 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 people, or whatever the number may be. And then you're responsible for these people too, because they're all on the same team with you. That's a lot of responsibility. And that's big boy, big girl stuff, as I call it. Right? You gotta get out of the toddler section and get into the big boy, big girl section and put on those, put your foot in that big old shoe and say, I'm gonna go ahead and fill the shoe up.
Oh yeah, definitely that. And to get into the second part of your question, the main reason that people fail to lead effectively is because they're not trained properly.
That's big.
They will only mirror what they've been exposed to.
I like that.
If I can't change how you think, nothing ever transforms, nor does the organization transform.
Right. You know something when you say that, Terry, because obviously you and I do some of the same things. And when you deal with a lot of companies or a lot of organizations that send people to events or leadership or any type of self-help or personal development type of situation. And a lot of times I'm really big on this. When people don't invest in themselves, usually they don't care as much, right? It's almost like a vacation. You know, if you send me to this 3 day workshop, yeah, the stuff that Terry Budget was saying was real good and everything, but to me, it's like a mini vacation, right? Because you sent me, I don't have to do work at the office, I don't have to do anything there. It's like a mini vacation, and don't let it be out of state, right? Nice hotel room. I got away from the job. I got away from my city. So it's not taken as seriously because they didn't spend the billions or the thousands of dollars out of their own pocket to actually learn how to be a better person or a better leader or whatever that particular training is on. And I think that's the reason, like you said, they come back the same because I went there for a mini vacation. I wasn't really trying to come back any different than than I left. I was just trying to get away from home and enjoy myself for 3 days or 2 days or 6 hours or whatever the training was. So I think a lot of times, if you're going to get better, especially a leader, and I've had the opportunity to lead several things as well, and that I personally believe that leaders are readers. I believe
Definitely agree with you on
you
that.
agree with me on that. I believe that when people, you show me a person that don't read, and if I'm a leader, I'd tell you I would not give them any responsibility to lead because they're not getting better, right? I mean, how you gonna get a better attitude with the same bad attitude you had yesterday? How you gonna get
But
something
you,
better, right? And I think people stop learning. Go ahead.
I believe there's a quote that says, a man who does not read is no better than the man who cannot read.
That's right. That's right.
And our goal is, if you are willing to read and learn, if you are willing to grow, then you're taking up space,
Right.
useless space.
Yeah. You're right.
I'll tell you, growing up as a child, you could not pay me to read a book.
Me neither. I would, hey, I would run from books like vampires run from crosses, man. When I was young, I would be running from books, man. Be showing me no book.
Funny about it, funny about it though, is that my mother and my grandmother tried to get me to read some books. I read it just to appease them, but after that, everything is downloaded. I hated reading so much. I hated it with a passion. I hated it so much that I wrote a book.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty interesting because I'm similar because people look at me now like I'm sure they look at you when you wrote a book. They think, oh, you must have popped out the womb writing books. And I had to tell people, no, that's not how it started. People that know me from 30, 40 years ago know that he wasn't walking around carrying books around at 12 years old, 10 years old, right? 15 years old. Obviously, but I realized it was a lot that I didn't know. And I still realize that today is a lot that I don't know. That's one reason why I like talking to people like you and, and reading your materials and things like, because there's a lot that I don't know. I don't know everything. I know some things, but I don't know everything. And there's a whole lot that you can keep learning. And that's why I think it's something that's so important on leadership. I always tell people readers are leaders. If you want to lead, you better read. If you don't read, you're going to be led by those who have read. And if you don't know what they have read, they can lead you astray.
And you know what? There's um, there's another quote. I think it was Lito Cobain, another speaker.
Hmm.
He said, there are two types of people in the world of business. There are those who understand the how and those who understand the why. Those who understand the how will always have a job. Those who understand the why will always be their boss.
I like that. Yeah, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because once we understand the why, take the time to read and understand. I see what we're doing, but why are we doing it? Even the whole thing is, everyone saw the apple fall. Only Newton asked why.
Right. Yeah, that's good. And I think that's true with a lot of people because even here's a sign of a bad leader and a good leader, right? Because if you ask a leader, why are we doing something? A good leader will explain to you why we're doing it. This is why we're doing this. This is why we're going left, then turning right. A bad leader will just tell you, just shut up and follow. They won't tell you why. Because the reality, a lot of leaders want to be oppressors. They don't want to produce more leaders because they want everybody to applaud them because they're leading, right? But they don't want to produce another leader and say, hey, this is why we do it. I believe that, and you may agree with this too. I believe that the best leaders are always trying to replace themselves with with other leaders.
Oh, that's what it's being done. That's planning, and I'm glad you mentioned it.
Mhm.
But the caveat back on what you just said about bad leaders and them not being able to understand why. In military service, you may be given an order to do, but never understand why you're doing it. And that's one of the, I wouldn't necessarily say an issue or problem, but one of the components of getting things done, especially in that type of hierarchical structure. But in the civilian world, I want this done, but tell me why are we doing it this way? Are there other alternative ways? Now, truly, there's always thinking about other ways to get it done with less money, less people, and still achieve the same or greater results.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to, and when I think about leadership and its importance, it's everyone should. If you desire to lead, then do it. Just become a better you.
Yeah, the first person you should try to lead is you, right? Lead yourself, right?
Definitely. A true leader, when they want to instruct, the first person they instruct is themselves.
Right.
How can I make myself better so that I can help make others better? It's never about themselves.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's always about other people.
Yeah. And see, that's good too, Terry, because when you think about it, right? When you make yourself better, right? When you get good at leading yourself, you know, I remember I was in the military. This first time I heard something like this. And one of the supervisors I had at the time said, I'm not going to ask you to do something that I wouldn't do myself. Right. 19 years old. Right. And that was the first time I heard that. Right. Because, we have to do some things in the military. Right. He said, I would never ask you to do something that I haven't done myself. Now, to me, that was profound. Like, wow, wouldn't that be awesome if people will only ask you to do what they have done themselves? They will only tell you what to do if they've done it themselves. And I like to look at it like this, right? Because your book has a lot of wisdom in it and leadership. And obviously, you got some more books coming out in the future. You and I have talked about that. However, you know that when you look at how much wisdom you're having, a lot of times people like to hear wisdom, but they don't like to do wisdom. And I always tell people hearing wisdom is like smelling good food in the kitchen that grandma made or mama made, right? And then, and it's cool to smell good food, but you know what's better than smelling good food? Eating it, right? So doing the actual stuff is much better than hearing the stuff that you thought sound good or was good. And I think that's where people have this disconnect, Terry, is that how are you going to tell me to be a good leader when you don't lead yourself, right? How are you going to tell me to, it's like a person may be overweight, right? And you're going to tell everybody to lose weight. That don't look good, right? Like, how you going to tell me to lose weight? You overweight. First you lose 50 pounds, then you can tell me how to lose 50, right? But a lot of times people think, well, I read a book on it or I seen something on social media on it. So then they're going to try to tell people something they haven't done. And I think that's poor leadership there, telling people to do things you haven't done. I just think it's bad.
Many people who use that analogy
Mm-hmm.
tell you something to do. Oh, by the way, I haven't done it. It's more so to make themselves look better.
Right.
So I suggest that you do it this way. Well, wait a minute, you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that wasn't my story. That wasn't my life. So how can you tell me how to do it this thing when this isn't your life either?
Right. Right.
Now you're calling your own way of thinking.
Yeah.
Everybody can learn something from the CEO to the custodian.
That's true.
So everybody has something of value. The problem is we as individuals and as humans are so The idea is not to argue or not to tell them, but this is what you need to do. It should be more so a conversational step. Well, I see what you want. Have you considered this option or this option? You decide. My goal is to facilitate and help you come up with a final decision as to where you want to be. Now, a true leader understands this. As I said, it's never about themselves. It's always about other people. It's never about power, but empowerment. I want to entice you. I want to inspire you to be the best that you can be. Because if I never call myself a leader, that's what other people are to do.
Right.
I'm just amongst you. I'm here to help you.
Right.
And if I can help you get what you want, as I said, I'll always have what I need. Why? Because you'll make sure of it.
That's true. You know, that's one thing I found out over the years of doing things, Terry, is that when you do help a lot of people get what they want, get the places they want to get to, especially in a legit way, tell people the truth about how much work things take. Those people do come back, right? They do come back and make sure you have what you need, right? Because not like you're doing it for that. Some people, are very grateful that because they know where they would have been without you stepping into their life, right? They know that the trajectory of their life would have been somewhere else without you stepping into it. That doesn't mean that any of us are, these grand people or anything like that. But people, it's a quote. I don't know who actually said it, that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think in leadership, you have to care a lot about people. Sometimes you have to care more about them and believe more about them or believe in them more than they do themselves. Sometimes you get people, they don't believe in themselves because of life, or especially if you're in a corporate structure, you don't know what a person is going through in their home life, right? You don't know. You didn't go home with them. You don't know what type of battles they're fighting once they leave you in that situation. So they don't believe. Maybe they were told when they went home, you're nothing. You'll never be anything. And then they come back to work and see you, and you're like hope for them, because at home all last night they were told how bad they were. They'll never be any good. And so when they see you, you can provide hope and inspiration to them because you believe in them. And those times you have to believe in them more than they believe in themselves. And that's hard for a lot of people to do, right? It's hard for people to think about other people. And sometimes it's disappointing because some people, they may not believe in themselves a lot and fall off, right? Some people may grab it and say, man, you saved my life, like a life preserver, because they stop believing in themselves. So I agree with you, what you're saying.
People always remember things that they saw, things that were said,
Mm-hmm.
because they see a true leader as the person they want to be. I wrote in, I think it was chapter 2,
Right.
A subsection called "You're Always on Stage."
Yeah. Explain that, Terry.
When I say you're always on stage, regardless of where you are, whether it's in the workplace or you're at home or on the street, someone, whether you know it or not, is always watching what you do. Now, let's assume you are in business. You are the CEO or manager or team leader or what have you. And someone that you work with is going to look and see what your attitude is like that day. That's why I put it in there first, attitude.
Right.
What kind of presentation are you coming in the door with? Because as I said earlier in the segment, a person can walk into a room and change the entire atmosphere and not even have said a word. So the idea you're going to change, or you're going to cause change anything within the atmosphere that you're around just by your presence. If you're always happy and you're coming into an office, even in your own home, the atmosphere around you will adjust to what the leader's attitude is. So wherever you go and whatever you do, people are always watching because you're always on the stage. And you have to maintain a certain level of, let's call it, a certain level of decorum when you're around other people. Because when that changes, they change. I put it in the book.
Mm-hmm.
When you change the page, you change the stage.
That's good, man. I like that. When you change the page, You change the stage. That's good right there. Yeah, next time I be a leader, I'm gonna use that. I like that. That's good. Because here's something else, Terry. Because a lot of times, and you and I in speaking business, so a lot of times people will say, "I got to practice what I preach," right? Like they'll say it first, and then say, "Oh, now I got to catch up to what I said," right? Like I said, be great or do something good. And they feel they have to catch up to that thing, right? And I always tell people, you don't have to worry about practicing what you preach. Just preach what you practice. Just tell the 3 things you do, or the 5 things, or 25 things. Don't try to tell things and do things that you haven't done. Just, you have enough as a leader to say, look, I may not know how to swim all night long, right? But I can swim to the end of the pool and back, right? I may not know how to earn $1 million yet, but I do know how to save 10,000. Well, if that's where you are, just lead people into saving $10,000. Now, again, as you do that for enough people, eventually you'll get up to $100,000 and even more, right? Just using that numbers as an example. But I think people don't realize that they have enough already, and because of how they feel about themselves. Because again, we're empowering people, right? And I always say, Terry, you can only give the people what you have. If you don't have it, you can't give it, right? So if you don't have self-discipline, how you gonna give self-discipline to people that's following you? If you don't have goal setting and in you, you don't set any goals yourself, how you gonna give goal setting to people that's following you? Because you're feeding those people, whether you realize it or not. And if you're feeding them on how not to have goals, how to be good at procrastinating, how to, all those negative and bad habits, then they're gonna take your bad habit time too. And they'll take your good habit time too.
Most people, whether it's in business or the streets, think that leaders are without flaw, are supposed to be without flaw. And that's not true. What makes us better are flawed. Well, just that. So what? You are. A true leader doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be knowledgeable about everything. They're strong in areas that they're weak. But they're always telling other people who are around them, I want you to you're the one I'm going to go to this. You're the one I'm going to go to for that. And I'm going to bring all of us together so that we can all win. And don't worry about the flaws. Because most people who want to become leaders feel they need to focus on the weaknesses and try to make them strengths. Why? You know you're not strong in that area. Well, make you strong. Make your strength stronger. And surround yourself with people who are strong in the areas that you're weak, so that your strength can overshadow your weakness.
Right.
And when something comes up, I don't know the answer to that. But you know what? He or she does.
Yeah. When you say that, when you say that, Terry, I really believe that every person on the planet is an answer. I really believe that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I believe when you become a leader, and the more people you lead, it shows the more answers that you have. Not so much in you, just around you, meaning that you need a lot of help. So you got 1,000 people following you, you got 1,000 answers following you. Now the problem is, if you think that you're the man or the woman, you won't use any of those answers to be exactly what they are, answers. But when you, like I said, if you got a weakness, you got 400 answers or 4 answers or 10 answers in that group of people that's following you. So they have to go ahead and be the answer that they're supposed to be, which is their strength, because you don't have the answer for that, right? I'm like, for instance, me, I'm not very into IT work, right? That's not my strength. However, when I need stuff done on the IT side, I make sure I find people that do that. Not because, now could I learn it? I'm sure I could learn it. I can go to a class and school and all that stuff and learn those things. That's not my strength, but it is someone else's. And I pay those people to do that stuff for me, right? Because that's what they do well, right? That's their strength. They love doing it. So I always try to surround myself personally with people that love the work that they do. If they love the work that they do, it never seems like work because I do things that I love the work that I do. I know that I have to say at this radio show, right? To some people, I have to say I'm working. Now, to me, it don't seem like I'm really working, right? Because I love interviewing people that are independent in what they do. I just love that. I love people that had an idea, conceptualized it, put it in a book, and they know their stuff. I love talking to people like that, right? And so this is not like work to me. You understand what I'm saying? I'm having fun, right? I'm in a good time when I do these shows all the time. So when I'm talking to, you see what I'm saying? I like it, right? It's like fun for me, right? But I know I have to tell people I had to go to work. I had to do some work today, but it's not work to me per se, or it's what I call love work. So when you get all these people that's a leader and they have these answers, they love doing that answer. They love it. But a lot of times, poor leaders don't give them the chance to do the answer for the group. They don't allow them to be that answer, which is very unfortunate as well.
Like I said earlier, all of us have value that something brings to the table.
Mm-hmm.
But as leaders, unless we tap into that value, we're the ones who fail. I find that most of the people that I come in contact with, especially those who are just getting into positions of leadership, foreign management, or supervisory capacity, they are the ones who are on the short end of the stick. And the purpose of writing this book is specifically for them. Now, regardless of what level that you're at, the information that's contained in the Leaders Blueprint can give you direction. But it was more so focused on those who just got into it because they simply don't know. They're going to follow the patterns of someone that was ahead of them before, and they may have actually been a bad leader or taught them bad habits. And the design of this book is to show you a pathway, or show them a pathway rather, to get to where they want to be and become an effective leader. That's why I put attitude first.
Right.
You can't change the way you live unless you first change the way you think.
That's big there, Terry, because people do need to think better. You know, it's like this when some people, after you're in the book business like myself, and I've had people tell me, man, I haven't read a book in 15 years, right? And it's like 15 years, how old are you, man? I'm 42 or whatever. It's like, how you gonna try to keep making it in life off what you learned at 18? Like, I mean, how come you haven't added on to that storehouse of knowledge? You know, here's something for you right there. That, you know, like if you eat a lot of food, right, your stomach can get bigger, right? Or if you work out a lot and and lift weights, your muscles can get bigger, right? But if you put something in your head, you know your head don't get bigger, right? You know, you never have to worry about like I think I got too much in there, right? You can keep learning and keep learning and keep learning. And people act like, well, I'm gonna die from learning, man. I don't want to have no fat head or nothing. Right? You know what I'm saying? Right? Right. That's true. That's true. I believe that what you put into the mind, you'll put into your life. You know you okay.
We become what we think about.
That's true.
And what you focus on and what you put your energy to becomes your truth.
That's good.
And until we focus on positive things that we want to have good happen in our life, but always that should happen or could happen because majority of society is focused on negative aspects. They wonder why they don't get ahead. Say, for example, you lose your job. Because I remember a few years back, I was let go from my job.
Okay.
First thing I said was, you know what? Okay, I've been let go of this job. One, what did I learn from the experience? Two, what did I learn while I was there that I can carry on to my next position? Because it's not a matter of what I can't do, but what am I going to do next? Because from my perspective, they know who they just released. What they don't know is who they just unleashed.
Oh, that's good. Say that one more time, man, so the audience can get it.
When I lost my position, I had to make a conscious decision or conscious determination in my thought process. Is they
That's good. I like that, Terry.
Now, that's because I learned what I needed to know from this job. This was just a hurdle that I needed to get over. Because the truth, the hours that I was working, 11, 12-hour shifts, they were really, really holding me back from my destiny. So they're releasing me to do what I'm purposed to do, as opposed to what I'm paid to do, with the course of success that I needed to be on. These things had to happen. And most people that listen to this nation have to understand things don't happen to you, they happen through you.
That's good.
The education that you have is to help someone else go through something similar, so you can get to your greatness to help them to get theirs.
That's good, Terry. Man, I could talk to you much longer. You know, you and I have some other conversations anyway. However, we get ready to wrap it up. And again, the book is called The Leader's Blueprint: How Average Leaders Become Alphas and Why You Should Too, by Terry Budget. Obviously, you can get the book on unknowngreatness.com. I'm sure Terry will visit us again in the future because there's a lot more he can say and teach on this. So, Terry, how can people get in contact with you?
They can get in contact with me on my website at www.terrybudget.com, or you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Terry T. Budget.
Good. So, Terry, I want to say thank you for taking the time, man, to share the information on the Leader's Blueprint. It's an honor to me to be able to interview you down there in the South Click. So I look forward to talking to you again. Again, this is the Dr. Anthony Gann on the Great Authors Show on IntellectualRadio.com. Look forward to seeing you again at the next session with another great author that we will interview. Take care.